Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
And I'm Joe.
This is episode 26 of our podcast. The date is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. If we were keeping track of seasons, this would be season 2 as we're sort of starting a new year for us podcasting. That's pretty cool, huh, Joe?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. So looks like we're game this weekend, brother.
That is even more cool.
Yeah, and if things work out, maybe face-to-face, which I do love that.
That's because our stupid governor is finally taking her boot off our necks.
Yes, just slightly.
Slightly.
Just slightly, yeah. So, but anywho, how have you been this week, man? Anything cool, exciting?
I got a sunburn today.
Ooh, that's actually good. It was nice today. I was out playing with the dog.
Yeah, sunny all day, and it got up to 50. It was only supposed to be 41, but I had to take off my gloves, and I was all layered because it was fairly chilly this morning.
Did you decide to summon the heat today?
Yes.
Good man. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready for a little springtime action.
I am. I've been ready.
Yeah. Hey, did you see what I posted on the Facebook about my hand of Vecna?
No, because I just told you I'm not hardly ever.
Oh, that's right. You're not Facebooking much anymore, which is quite wise, actually. But because I had to one up our boy Patrick, he posted about getting all the sweet Deadlands goodies in the mail, and I'm still waiting on mine. And then I got my birthday presents in. I got the hand and eye Vecna, so now I can become an undying lich, which is pretty sweet.
Yes.
And then I got my Orcus figure, and I have to admit, they're actually better than what I was expecting.
You know, you should run. I know the head of Vecna joke is on the internet and all that, yeah. But you should run a game where there are various body parts of Vecna and see which ones people are willing to lop off. And you should even make them. Well, I shouldn't say too much because a lot of them listen to the podcast. But anyway. Right.
I should do stuff with those. That would be a fun game. Well, I mentioned on the Facebook post that I thought my Cabin Con adventures may have to have a mild tweak. So, and did you know this? I read on the back of the box of the Vecna thing, it told the story that Vecna himself, when he was a shriveled old archmage, not a lich yet, was taught the secrets of lichitude, undeath, by Orcus himself. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, I always thought there was some sort of connection between Vecna and
Orcus. And so Orcus started to be a lich. He became a lich. And I didn't say, but if I'm remembering correctly, Kos, his right-hand man, became a vampire who turned on him. And it said in the back that Kos turned on him in an epic battle. They destroyed Vecna's tower, and all was left was his hand and eye.
Well, I mean, they're evil. So
yeah,
it isn't. I mean, you got the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but you don't want to turn your back too much around those guys.
And there's a serious. Well, that's part of the shtick, right? That evil feeds on itself or eats itself eventually, and that's one of the reasons good guys have a chance, because evil can't coexist really. So, which I like that trope. That's pretty cool.
Right, it's useful.
All right, some gaming news. First,
I think that you can actually show that historically. It's not a universal.
No,
but it's something you can show.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at Hitler and Stalin, right? I mean, they weren't necessarily allies, but they were both evil.
Yeah, but you gave Stalin a chance. Well, not Stalin.
Was it Stalin? Who was the head of Russia when they fought World War II? Wasn't Stalin?
Not in Hitler's time, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
It might have been. I don't know that history very well. It could have been Stalin.
I'm not a history master, so who knows?
I was actually thinking of his from Italy.
Mussolini?
Mussolini. He was only his friend when he was on the rise.
Yeah.
Right.
He kind of punked out when things started getting tough.
And Hitler didn't have any friends.
No.
When he was low.
No.
So.
Well.
Which is probably why he killed himself. But.
Yeah, the supreme racist that he was. I mean, what would we expect?
Yeah. I mean, we're better off without him. That's for sure.
No doubt. Anywho, on to some gaming news. So the first one, I know Kickstarter's not always your bag, but I thought it was just kind of fun looking at that link. it seems that there is a lot of Kickstarters that are breaking right now. They're breaking $1 million. I mentioned that last time, the $1 million level. And I looked at that Twisted Taverns? Did you watch that little cartoon thing?
I did not.
It's okay. You didn't miss much. In my opinion, it was kind of dumb. There was like an Eberron like train tavern. I mean, I guess the idea is cool, but that's not generally my kind of fantasy. And there was another. This is on this book. This book is about all the different taverns that could exist in a world.
Right. I think it's a cool idea.
It is. And then there was one of a tavern below the sea, which, I mean, something I don't mind that. I guess since I'm a fan of Planescape, I can't be too picky with weird, because Planescape had a lot of weird stuff. But I guess you could have those sort of things. It was kind of neat, but I wasn't terribly impressed with what they were saying.
Under the Sea. Whenever I see, if you're having if your campaign is with like merfolk or an undersea campaign,
yeah,
an underwater tavern would be reasonable to have. But if you're just every once in a while doing something under the ocean, I guess was it a tavern that was also water all the way through it, or was it
no, I don't think so. I think it was made for air breathing folk too. I mean, okay. I don't hate the idea. I mean, I can imagine some Merid, which is a water genie in the plane of elemental water, he might be inclined to have air breathing folks for visiting, and maybe there's a tavern down there. It's possible. When you cross the plains,
you could imagine in let's say a seafaring type of campaign where there's lots of pirates and they may be powerful. Maybe they conscripted or convinced a Merid or some other type of creature to help them out with that, so they could have a secret underground tavern lair thing.
Yeah. And I think the One Ring, I don't know if that video for the One Ring, it's the same one we had before. If that's their Kickstarter video, that's weak, like super weak.
Yeah, I'm not fond. I'm with the company that's running that game at this point.
I don't know much about who even they are, so I just thought the video was weak. Yeah. I don't think they said anything and just showed pictures of the Fellowship, and I was like, that's just kind of. But there's a good question. So that's a setting. That's a brand. That's a licensed product.
Yeah.
And then we have Twisted Taverns. I think it might have been on Eric Tinkar's podcast. He was kind of wondering how that made so much money, but I can kind of see that over somebody's homebrew setting, because taverns can be taken to any setting.
Sure.
So I could see that as being something probably could break a lot of money. I mean, rather than saying, hey, here's Randy's really super cool campaign, give me a lot of money.
And you don't know what kind of promotion campaign those ran, so they might have either paid or had some agreements with folks to run ads across various different types of media. So some people just rely on the Kickstarter platform to provide an audience.
Yeah.
You put that there, you put the right tags, and you're just going to expect people to find your Kickstarter. But I think that's for some people, let's say Monty Cook.
Yeah.
He puts out a Kickstarter, but doesn't say announce it.
Yeah.
Somebody else is going to.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got some recognition to his name. But me, Joe Harden, puts a Kickstarter out. They might see it, but no one's going to talk about it.
No, they don't know you. Same for me. I mean,
right.
It's interesting because, I think that Twisted Tavern, I believe the people that did it, I didn't recognize any of the names of the people that are doing it, but apparently they got a bit of a following. I think they're YouTubers or bloggers that are well known. And so they've been promoting it on their sites, I think, for a while, I would imagine, which is smart. And they're going to do really well. So
that being the case with YouTube or whatever podcast or whatever you were saying, audience, they might have blogging audience.
Yeah.
There you go. They have an audience.
Yep.
And
that's key. And that's really key.
Which is something we're working on.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, I think we could do a little more with that.
Yeah.
We need to, I don't know.
By working on it, we're hoping people who listen to this spread the word. That's how we're working on it. By other people working on it.
Yes, please work on our marketing. So WotC / Hasbro had a lot of news this week, a lot of business type news. But the thing that struck me is the very beginning link there we have is that so WotC made No, how did it go? Hasbro made 816 million last year. WotC brought in 325, and it was one of their bigger companies. I mean, one of their bigger subsidiaries, and so they moved them into. They're like one of the three components of Hasbro now. Consumer products is one, entertainment is the other, and then Wizards and digital. So Wizards has been moved up into that. With all their trouble with, it goes to show you. I mean, D&D giant, Magic the Gathering is giant, and so the Hickman and Weiss thing, the Gale Force 9 thing, it was a blip, wasn't it?
A blip. So also, are you saying Hasbro's total revenue across all of their businesses was under $1 billion?
I could be wrong. Maybe it was their toy stuff. That's just a number that
because if that's across all their businesses, Hasbro's not that big of a company. Not really.
Well, it's a new division. I use my own term, my better terminology there. My bad. I'm wrong. WotC's revenue last year was 816 million.
Oh, okay.
A 24% increase from 2019.
Oh, that's pretty good. I mean, considering the niche that it's in, or the couple of niches that it's in.
Yeah, I must have read my own notes. So they made 816 million, WotC did, and Hasbro had bought them at 99 for 325 million. So yeah, that's kind of boss.
Yeah, because usually when a large company purchases a smaller one, a lot of them don't really expect them to make their money back like that on their. They hope they do, but it's a kind of a gamble.
Do you think it's kind of funny, or maybe Hasbro's putting? I wonder if they're going to have a new studio in Austin, Texas for video games. As I mentioned, WotC's going to be part of their Wizards and Digital. They got a new logo and everything, and they're going to be doing more video game stuff. It's funny that they would choose, but it could be because they're adding new blood into it, infusing real video game designers. I mean, think about WotC's and TSR's history with doing digital products.
Right.
Not been fabulous. Though D&D Beyond, is that theirs? That might be a third party. I don't know. That's been pretty good.
I wonder, so that
for them,
800 and some odd $1 million, was that just this past year?
Yeah. Yes.
I wonder if it's going to repeat this coming year, because this past year has produced a lot of anomalous data based on the COVID and how much it has changed economic trends here and there. So a lot of people at home, nothing better to do, that get money from the government to do nothing. What else are they going to do?
And with the vaccines coming and our new savior as president and spring and summer coming, I mean, apparently we're going to be golden, right?
Well, Fauci said that we weren't going to go back to normal, whatever that is, until December. It's likely. I mean, he didn't use definite words. He's like, whatever. But
Fauci's dumb, but
somehow, some way, some kind of normal. It won't happen until then, likely. But I'm thinking it's going to come quicker. In fact, I mean, with what you just said about our governor and various other states opening up here and there across the country. I think it's going to come up sooner than that, and people will likely. There won't be as many jobs waiting for them because a lot of companies closed.
Yep.
But I think that as long as the government doesn't get in their way again, the folks that are entrepreneurial and know how to start and run a business will likely do that. They'll just take some time.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting too that their WotC is going to be, they're licensing Lord of the Rings and Warhammer for Magic the Gathering. Did you see that?
Which one?
Magic the Gathering is going to make cards based on Lord of the Rings and Warhammer 40K. They made deals.
Put that in here.
Yeah, dude, that's like where's it at?
New logo, new division.
Yeah, past that. So it looks like it's the fourth one down. So
There's
yeah,
movies and series.
yeah, buddy.
Oh, here, no.
Hit the fourth link down.
Fourth link.
Fourth link under that slew of Watsy crapola.
Is that it?
It should
Watsy
say
makes more money than toy.
Yep.
Is it in that article?
Yeah, should be.
Watsy makes more money than Hasbro's toy business.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And the one in that information you were just saying is in that article.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering. It's the second paragraph. Hold on, maybe it's further down. Maybe it's near the end. Let me see. Yeah, well, second to last, the last full paragraph. It's also launching a sub brand, Magic the Gathering. 2021, they're going to be doing six premier card set releases per year now, starting in 2021. A sub brand under which it will launch Magic sets for Warhammer 40K and Lord of the Rings beginning in 2022. That's pretty big, actually. That's two pretty big franchises to get the Magic treatment.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
lots cool. Of crossover goodness there.
Yeah. So, and Hasbro also had their entertainment arm, which is called Entertainment One. Apparently has big plans for the D&D movie. Magic the Gathering is going to have, I think, maybe an animated series on Netflix. They talked about a whole, in quotations, a whole new world of D&D premium television products. I kind of wondered if Monty Cook was involved with that.
Because of the premium word.
Because of premium. Yeah, his premium game products. Yeah, I don't know about that. Probably
as opposed to common garden variety average.
Yeah. Product. And they reported Hugh Grant's going to be the villain. I don't know what to think about that. I always see him as kind of a romantic comedy guy. And then that girl, I forget her name, from It is on there. So
I don't know that. I've never
the little redhead. She was pretty good. If you ever watch It, she's really pretty good in that show. Did you get to read about this? I forgot who the lady was. Had the article on 6 things D&D movie needs to become a hit.
I did.
He did. I wrote them down. I made my comments as to what I thought of each of them. I didn't agree. I agree with, I think, 2 of the 6. I had maybe on 3 of them and absolutely no on 1 of them. I bet you can guess which one I had no on.
Well, I read it, but I really can't remember them. Hold on.
Well, Joseph, let me hit you with this, bud. Let your friend help you out with this, all right? First one, take inspiration from the source material. Agree. You and I have talked about that. Make a D&D movie that's actually about D&D, right? So one of the things she said was take inspiration from source material.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Then it said, now this one I'm not sure, but this is where I said maybe. Pay attention to Critical Role and its ilk.
I can't really mimic the Family Feud noise when they put the X on the screen.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. No, I would say.
Well, here's
no,
what I would say.
Except
I think
that.
Yeah.
What you might be getting at is the trends and the way that they do things, and they're popular. So if you do things similarly, it might. But I don't think so.
I'm hoping she meant in terms of character development, because all those voice actors do a really good job of developing their characters in the story. So that's all I could see would be worthwhile. It says recognize contemporaries, and I agree with that, which means realize there's been Harry Potter movies, there's been Lord of the Rings movies. You better act like it when you make the movie. So don't bring 2000 Dungeons and Dragons the movie. You know what I'm saying? You need to recognize that your contemporaries have upped the bar.
Oh, right.
I mean, heck, or even what's the one? The Witcher. Think about The Witcher.
Yeah,
it's got to be that. If it's not at least The Witcher, it's going to be garbage.
Well, as far as, so with Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, I know Harry Potter isn't everybody's cup of tea, but in all these things, there's at least some decent writing and cinematography and attention to detail and all that other stuff. Fantasy movies have a bad rap of being a little goofy,
right,
and having ridiculous costumes or bad special effects. But yeah, if you can bring it to the level of Lord of the Rings, or even maybe not quite, because you had a whole troop of Lord of the Rings lovers working on it. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody that I saw interviewed, they all read the books and were like, fanatics about Lord of the Rings. They got those people to work on it. So if you
And
get a bunch of people,
Peter Jackson distilled the important parts of Lord of the Rings, in my opinion.
right? So, but with D&D, you don't have the same cover to cover story. But if you get a bunch of folks who play and appreciate and like
Yep.
RPGs in on it,
Mhm.
that's probably what you need.
Well, and I think for me, and we may have mentioned this off air on air, D&D, if you're gonna make a movie, I need to see a party of adventurers,
Right,
okay, that are actually a party and a group.
right.
And I need to see them go on some sort of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you have to spend a dungeon. You got to spend 30, 40 minutes in a dungeon. I mean, I think you should, just because it's part of the deal. I
Right,
think there probably should be a dragon somewhere. Probably doesn't have to be. That could be something you could lead to, you
right,
know.
right.
But I mean, I think really that's about it. And I think you got to have humans, you got to have non-humans. You got to have an elf and a dwarf, and probably a halfling. Anything else is up to you. Now the next part of that was kind of funny, and I don't know how to funny. She said, "Don't take yourself too seriously," and I thought maybe 1 to 2 funny bits, but not a bunch of corny crap. If your goal is Guardians of the Galaxy, and you can reach that, which
Yeah,
is a high goal, okay, but be careful with the laughy yucky yucks, the yuckity
yeah,
yucks, or it's going to be weak.
yeah.
You know,
Because it'll ruin any kind of serious overtones you want to have if you
yeah,
don't do it right.
yeah. And I don't know, but some people see D&D, and we have them in our cabin con. It's just a rollicking time to roll dice and see what happens,
Right.
and not really care. It can get goofy, and it doesn't matter. So maybe we're kind of stuck in the mud. But I think there's as many of us as there are those guys. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
like, it doesn't have to be a novel, but I like it to be quasi pretty serious. I like my D&D. It sounds weird, but I like the stories to matter, and there to be like at least a little bit of tension and
Well, I get
real.
in moods when I like to joke a lot, but
Sure,
when
and
it's
that's
time to be serious, you're serious.
yeah.
Right.
Well, the story shouldn't be a one big joke.
No, no, it should
Even
not.
Guardians of the Galaxy was serious.
Yeah.
The stories were serious.
Yeah.
But they told it kind of walked that line of
I also don't mind the tongue in cheek, which is Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a
yes, me too.
serious story about, well, the serious consequences to lots and lots of people being dead,
Yep.
but told in a lot of tongue in cheek through the lens of the Guardians.
And I think that's a tough line to walk, which the Guardians have done. They found that perfect, they found the small plus or minus window you have to do
Right.
that and not land in Campville,
Right.
kind of like Batman Forever with George Clooney and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was garbage.
Right. That was, yeah.
That was embarrassingly stupid. Then this last one is also a maybe, because I agree with the statement, but I don't think what she mentioned was really what I'm talking about. Channel what folks love about D&D. Okay, that sounds good. She said, like, building friendships, lending support, and expressing identity.
No.
That last one could be a problem.
Yeah. So
I mean,
what people? So
yeah.
channel what people love about Dungeons and Dragons. What people? Some people like this thing over here, and other people like this other thing over there. And one of the articles that you have for the news after this,
Yeah,
is what I expressly don't like.
Correct.
To have
But
in my games.
Maybe they're trying to say, I don't know.
When you're playing a role, in an RPG, you're not expressing identity.
No.
You're pretending to be somebody who you're not.
Keyword, who you're not.
Who you're not.
Yeah.
So expressing identity, no.
Yeah. And so the last one was a big fat no for me. She suggested hire a diverse team and sensitivity writers.
Absolutely not.
Nope, don't want to hear it.
That will ruin it.
I'll be out. I won't even go see it if I hear all that bull crap.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, in the picture for that, whatever. Anyway, it's stupid.
And since we're in stupid land, let's just go full into it. I want to skip
yeah.
over. I want to skip over when should GMs ask for dice rolls and go to playing D&D to discover your gender identity.
No.
Yeah, I mean, look. Okay, if that's what you're doing it for, cool. Not at my table. I don't give a crap about your gender identity. I don't give two craps about it. Now, someone else wants to do it, you do it, but it's not my thing.
D&D is not a replacement for a psychotherapist.
Correct. But if you read that, the person that wrote that article, of course, was transgender, and I had some sympathy for them that their choices in their mind were difficult. But the truth is, they just sounded like they were very confused. But I mean, I guess if D&D helped them, I guess it helped them. But to me, that's not even remotely one of the great things about D&D.
I have to say, I don't think it helped them.
Nah, probably not. I don't know her. I don't know him or her, whoever she was.
D&D does not have any tools in that realm.
No, not really. Except you're playing a role, and so now you're going to build all these things into it, which the person mentioned, these different characters they created, and they could. Well, I was able to explore my identity safely without anybody knowing that I was truly transgender yet. I wasn't comfortable yet. I'm like, whatever. I don't know what you're doing. I mean, the game is not. It's not a therapy session.
No, it's not. And did your players at the table know that's what you were doing?
Yeah, I don't have a clue. But there was some stuff. He mentioned something about that it mostly queer tables. Now, I'm just using the words they use, not me. They use. This person used these words. That there's always it's an in joke that says if there's always somebody trying to work out their identity at the table. If you don't know who it is, it's you. I'm like, whatever. So I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know if you got a table full of those people that are struggling. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Beats me. I don't know how to get help, but knock yourself out.
Yeah.
I got the.
Nope.
Now the last article that I just thought was kind of interesting was should DMs ask for dice rolls, and we chatted about that a little bit. I don't know if it was the previous night or when, but the one thing and it was a fine article. You could tell it was a young guy. He even admitted he had less experience.
Yeah.
And he made some pretty good, pretty standard, bog standard statements. But I was a little put up on this one. It wasn't the statement that put me off. It was, I want to know if you understand. So he was talking, I'll just read it and you tell me, I'll put the emphasis on the word that, and you tell me if it sounds as weird to you as it does to me.
Go ahead.
The interesting part about some things being impossible is that there surely is some other way to achieving the goal the players have. You're just stating that this is not a possible way. This usually has players think outside the box and come up with unthinkable and much more interesting solutions. How can you come up with a solution that's unthinkable?
You can't.
No, you have to be able to think about it first.
Yeah.
Right.
If you've come up with something,
it's ridiculous
thinkable.
One.
Yeah.
I got a crazy idea, guys.
Well, maybe what he means by unthinkable is you shouldn't think of it.
I mean, I'm probably just picking on his grammar. The kid did a pretty good job overall. I mean, I agreed with what he said, about the GM, calling for roles, and don't call for a role if you're going to give it to him anyway. Just give it to him.
I thought that I thought the article was pretty obvious.
Yeah, but
he was full of obvious stuff.
Yeah.
This is all obviously true. So, but he might be getting his feet wet in writing, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But
all right. Let's move on to the main topic, dude.
Main topic. You might want to get a little closer to your.
Am I drifting? Is this better?
You sound kind of quiet tonight.
Okay, let me try this then. Hold on 1 second. Let me bring in some of my
quietude.
Some of my minions.
Bringing some of your minions to up the ante there.
Houston, is this better?
Not really.
Really? That's not better?
Not volume-wise. It might be on my end.
I don't know. Hold on for a second. Let me try again. How's this?
I mean, it's a little clearer, but no,
okay.
It might just be my headphones aren't working very well. Your levels look okay when you're talking though.
Okay, maybe it's just you, dude.
Yeah, maybe.
I got my microphone right next to my face hole now. So
Is there a volume control within Zoom?
what's that?
Is there? Do you know if there's a volume control within Zoom? Maybe that's what
Let
it is.
me. Yeah.
Or hold on. That's
Yeah.
what it is. There we
Hold
go. My
on.
system volume's all the way down to 11.
Son, come on now.
All right.
I'm way above 11.
You just killed my ears. All right. So
I'm way above 11. Is this okay?
it's my fault, like I thought.
Of course, our technological wizard miscast his spell.
Yes.
You failed your what's
Humble
the
fingers.
concentration roll?
Yeah.
Concentration roll. Yeah, yeah. All right, dude. So metagaming. There's a big long definition, which I love definitions, so I'm going to read it.
You
Um, a term used in role-playing games which describes a player's use of real-life knowledge concerning the state of the game to determine their character's actions when said character has no relevant knowledge or awareness under the circumstances. This can refer to plot information in the game, such as secrets or events occurring from the character, as well as facets of the game's mechanics, such as abstract statistics or the precise limits of abilities. Metagaming is an example of breaking character, as the character is making decisions based on information they couldn't know and thus would not make it in reality. It is considered unsporting or cheating in a competitive gaming context and is generally poorly received as it subverts the emphasis of accurate character depiction on in game experiences and backstory that defines role playing games. Outside of role playing, metagaming simply refers to players using knowledge or understanding of external factors such as community trends or coincidental events to gain an advantage in competition. Or that big giant definition and explanation, using out of character knowledge to make in character decisions.
Yeah, I like the second one better.
I know you do. Me too, actually. It says all you need to say. But I think it's really good. I thought the articles we tried to read on this, especially from Angry, were pretty good.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to begin with that. He talked about the metagame, and
I thought that was a really cool way to distinguish between what the word should mean and what the word has become to a lot of naysayers.
Yeah, it's become pejorative.
Yeah.
If you're a metagamer, you're horrible.
Yeah. Instead of metagame as in the overall structure of the game.
Right. He made a good point in the article talking about, you make a group. We're going to go be the one. We're going to be the defenders of this religion.
Yeah.
Except for one guy. I hate that religion, and I'm going to try to be Mr. Underhanded Dirty and screw you guys over.
Right.
Or even you got to convince me to go along.
Oh, that example. Oh boy. If somebody did that, at our, I don't see any of our, except for as a joke, anybody doing that. And I know that I can be a little obstinate in certain situations. So I was thinking
a little obstinate. Yeah.
I can be a little obstinate if let's say the payment for your services, and I'm in the group. So the guy giving the quest to us says, I will pay you with dead babies. Okay. So taking it to an extreme. So I would say, I'm not doing it. I'll see y'all later.
That's over. Even this, which is fair. You come into the second floor of the guild master of the artisan guild masters hall. He wants to hire you. You're supposed to go do something for him. And he comes down. He goes, look, guys, I need you to head to the rough side of town. There's a couple of people. Remember the gang called the Blackbirds, and they've been destroying a lot of my artisans' work, just making a nuisance of themselves. And I'd like you to go straighten them out really quick. And I don't care what it takes. And you say, well, okay, can you prove this? Well, and say he's got four. And so, because first of all, Joe would need proof. I know this, everybody, as his DM, he would not take that dude's word as like, yeah, that's what's going on. He has experience with a game master that likes to kind of do a little screw job on him.
Right.
And so he'd be like, well, they've already done something. So he brings in 4 or 5 people that are artisans. Maybe one you've even bought, say you bought some fancy sort of like, I don't know, writing utensils for your mage from this guy. He makes really cool inks and stuff. Anyway, and they're like, yeah, man, he got a black eye. He goes, I'm not kidding you, Volsavar. He's like, this dude knocked my
knocked me out and destroyed all my crap down the main marketplace, and so you believe it's true.
Yeah.
And so Joe's like, okay, this sounds like a pretty good deal. And then he's like, but I want you to make sure this guy so and so knows that I sent you. And he goes, well, what are you going to pay us? And he goes, a favor to be named later.
Yeah. No. See ya.
Right. And it's not that Joe's being money grubby. He's like, that could end up being nothing at all.
Right. Or what it could mean is, okay, I'm pulling this favor now. You're going to go assassinate someone for me.
Correct.
Or something like that. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've established in your game that there's a trustworthy NPC that whatever they say, you can pretty much guarantee is cool, then it's usually no questions, and I don't even care about paying,
Well, right. Yeah.
depending on the character I'm playing. So,
and I think that's something that's fine. I mean, that's something that we should do. I mean, even as a normal person, if you're a lawful good paladin, if you're hired to go do something that, as long as it's not against your code, even if it's not terribly what I would call, highfalutin in the sense of save the world, but maybe it needs to happen. You don't necessarily trust the first words out of somebody's mouth.
Right. So there's a difference between the example given in Angry's article where you have to convince him every time you go on a quest what's in it for him. There's a difference between that and wanting to have some motivation for
or even you, Joe. A lot of times you will have a what you're doing is you're saying, hey guys, I don't think we should do this. You're not saying I'm not going unless you convince me. You're saying, look, did you hear what that guy said?
Right.
You're doing it to help the group. The other guy's like, convince me I want to go.
Right. I'm usually arguing from the point of view of the character.
Right.
And doing it in game mostly, an RP type thing. And I have had characters like Butch. How much you paying? I'm good.
And I'm at least 50% sure. I'm an old man, but I'm pretty sure that I may have told a version of this story. But back when my wife was all but a new player, first time she ever played 3rd edition, she only played a couple of games of 2nd. We had this guy that came over, a new player, and he did that very same thing. He's like, and he did worse. He was like, he started causing so much friction. They trying to go on the quote unquote the adventure. They're like 4th level, and eventually he comes down. And it's either me or her. And I was like, what? And so he ended up staying home. His character stayed in the bar all night, and everybody else went on a short adventure.
Which is what they should have done.
Right. And afterwards, he was like, oh, that was really cool. And, anyway, but that's the kind of frustrating thing as a GM. It's like, the game is we're here to do something. Even if you don't spell it out, it's a group game. So why in the hell are you trying to fight really hard not to be a part of the group?
Right.
What's your point in this exercise, sir?
Right.
Yeah. And in the second article, this is really cool. Where in the first, so that's kind of the big metagame. It's the idea that you have a reason for being there, and you need to kind of make characters that will play along. That can be a part of this. It doesn't mean you can't have a disagreeable character. It doesn't mean you can't have a guy who's a little shady. But
some tension's okay.
Yeah, but it can't be. Well, this guy's not doing this adventure. And everybody else is like, we all want to do it. I'm not doing it. Okay, see ya. You can sit around on.
When I was reading this article, I was thinking of the old A-Team show where every time, well, not all the time, but in a lot of the episodes, they had to fly somewhere, and BA don't fly.
No, so BA wasn't having it.
They had to drug his milk because it was funny because he was always drinking a big glass of milk or something. They had to drug him one way or the other. And then he would wake up on a plane and he would, be angry. So, but you don't want to have that very often either.
Yeah.
Where you have to pull a BA on.
What did you think of the second one where Angry basically said metagaming's the GM's fault? I first posted a link to a Reddit site that discussed that. Then I said that's too much crap, and Joe doesn't like to read posts in a
the comments.
Yeah, it was all comments.
It's all comments.
It's all comments.
I'm above.
You're way above that. But what did you think of that big? He had a pretty long article.
Yeah.
I'm sure Joe posted in the show notes.
Yeah.
But that it was gaming. Metagaming is the dungeon master's fault.
Yeah, he wrote that, but I'm not really sure he supported that precisely in the article all that much. He
No.
talked about a lot of different things in that article, and it's a good one.
Yeah, it was very good.
But it falls on the DM as I think more the way to take it than if metagaming happens at your table, you are to blame. I think
Yeah.
it's more if the DM puts together good challenges and resolves, because the kind of metagaming that is the problem metagaming that a lot of people identify is
Yeah.
generally other problems, and the other problems are what he was the examples he gave revolve around secrets.
Yep. Well, I have them listed here. So you're right. So you have the secrets, right? The
Mm-hmm.
first one is, well, the idea is that you got a paladin in the group and then someone's playing the evil thief. This is classic. This goes way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had the idea of the troll issue. That's a classic one.
Yep.
Your third level, you encounter a troll. You wouldn't know they need fire. And he makes a very good point how stupid it is.
Yep.
I mean, I could just imagine, and I'm sure I did this back in the day. I don't remember it, but Joe's got a wizard. He's played 47 wizards because I killed 40 of them very unfairly. And he's finally fifth level. They face a troll. He goes, well, I cast fireball. And I'm sure I said, you've never seen a troll before. You wouldn't know anything about a troll.
Right.
And so
right.
what's Joe? And I'm sure Joe will give me this look like, what am I supposed to do then? And Angry's like, is he supposed to just randomly select spells until by magic he figured by literal magic? Oh, I should cast fire or acid on the troll. And I think those two cases, I agree, are probably DM problems because right now the paladin and the evil thief is not going to happen at my table.
Right.
I'll just look at the thief player. If everybody's basically good and there's a paladin, I'll say you can't play that. Absolutely not.
Right.
And the troll thing, that's an interesting question though, because his solution is right. It's a challenge to the DM to come up with better situations, more challenging situations where players can still use the fact that they know troll and acid and fire hurts trolls, but don't make it so easy. Like he said, make it a dozen trolls.
Right.
Yeah, you can fireball this one, but you might have 4 or 5 more.
Right.
So
yeah, the idea, I think the idea is almost metagaming in the good side of metagaming, where there's a overall structure, and the overall structure is the lore of your world.
Yep.
And how much of that lore do the players know? They're going to know some.
Yeah.
It'd be silly to, in a gaming world chock full of monsters and wizards all around the corner, that you're going to find villagers that you're like, magic, what's that? What's an orc? And then it's silly. So it might be that they haven't seen a lot of them, but the idea that that you can't ever know the lore as the PC can't know the lore of their world at all.
Yeah.
Until they see it in game, it's kind of silly.
Now, unless you wanted to play sort of like, if you wanted to play the first Points of Light campaign, which for those who don't know, that means, there's very few villages or towns, a lot of wilderness in between. And even a group of people in one town may have never heard of another group of people 30, 40 miles away from them, never heard of that town. And maybe the world is new. It's fairly young. Maybe creatures are that'd be interesting. What if a world where
magic is emerging?
Yeah. And there were never orcs before. Right. It was or imagine just humans. And then all of a sudden you see an elf come walking out of the forest.
It could even be a continent that didn't see it, a part of the world, or just somehow isolated, an isolated part of the world that doesn't have contact with a lot of the fantastic parts of the rest of the world. And that could be.
I think as a DM though, I would want to be careful because you don't then want to, so you get all the players to buy into that idea. And so everything's going to be new to you. Well, what about the wizard guy? I mean, he studied things that are magical and farcical. And even if you say, okay, he hasn't heard of it. Okay, fine. But do you want to catch them in that 22 all the time? You're like, okay, well, now you're fighting trolls. Does the wizard have to act like he's a moron and he doesn't know anything? And now you're fighting dragons. I mean, you're fighting a red dragon. Fireball it. No, don't fireball it. That's a waste of time. So, I mean, I don't know.
Pretending that you don't know things that you know creates weird thought processes, because I've tried it and it's just, it's like, whatever. I can't really not know this.
And he called it, and he's right. When you do that, you're playing a different metagame.
Yeah, this is a different metagame.
It's pretty crazy.
Because you're thinking to yourself, what should my character know instead of the thing I'm not supposed to know that me as a player knows, but my character can't know. It's kind of weird. So I think if you're going to say it's a brand new world and your characters don't know anything about anything, you're and you got a bunch of experienced players in D&D and other RPGs like all of us, all of our friends.
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong group of people to play that with.
Or you got to do this. You've got to give them an ally who knows of the magical world. Imagine that elf shows up out of the woods and he comes in. Who is the strange guy? First, we'll play the who's the strange guy. And maybe we have it. Maybe the party saves him from being lynched. Okay. Because they think he's some kind of evil beast or something. And he becomes your friend. And he says, I want you to know. He goes, I'll borrow something from Faerun. If I can remember it. What's the name of the magic? There's a name for the weave.
The weave? Yeah.
Yes, the weave has trebled in power, and creatures have been affected by it. What that means is your world's no longer going to be the same. And I wanted to warn you that currently there's a group of orcs that are heading this way, and they're led by a horrible chieftain. And he describes to you what an orc is, and he's like, show them no mercy. You know, and maybe he's really old, and so he can't really help you physically.
Like
but correct. Perhaps he's kind of he's your tome of knowledge to go to. And then every once in a while, as a DM, he doesn't know something. I've never heard of such a thing, but a lot of times you can go, be careful with trolls, hit them with fire. Right. You know what I'm saying? And let you take off. And then it'll at least feel like, you know, and you still can do some role playing, like you're not completely sure about things. And if I do throw something weird at you, I mean, that would be fun part as a DM. I'd try to pick the weirdest, oddest creature that no one would recognize from some third party book. And just so you'd be like, well, I don't know what the crap that is. And you could role play that. Oh my God, what is that thing? You know?
Right. Because a troll, I was thinking about this while I was reading it too. The easiest way out of this is to reskin a monster. So you've got a monster that's a troll, but he doesn't look like the classic troll. He just looks like something different. You can have all these odd descriptions or whatever that's different. Sure. And then when they encounter him, the only thing that the troll has from their powers list, I mean, what they have is their stats.
Yep.
The only thing, the stats don't have to be reflected in your description precisely. I mean, if they're really strong, they're going to probably look like it or whatever. But trolls don't have to be big, oddly shaped, gangly,
green skin, 9 foot
long
tall,
nose, 9 foot tall thing.
What if they're 4 foot tall, weigh about 400 pounds? They're about 3.5 foot wide. They have muscular arms. They have long claws in their hands, and their skin is brown.
Right.
And they have tufts of hair all over their body from just little tiny tufts of hair. And give it a troll. Be like, what the hell is that thing? And give it all the troll powers. Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Because there's nothing about a troll, honestly, in my opinion, when you look at it, that makes me scream fire.
No.
His skin might look a little rubbery if you're close up, but that doesn't scream fire or acid. It screams nothing.
No, there's nothing about the troll's appearance that tells you fire hurts me. Yeah. If you look at it right. I mean, I don't even know if there's anything that really is like that, really, unless wood. When you look at wood, your experience with wood tells you that fire burns it. Yeah. Not its appearance.
No, I would think a treant or one of those Ents from Lord of the Rings, it would make sense. Yeah, burn that thing if you want to kill it.
Dry things can often be great for burning, but there's nothing about a troll that suggests that it's like wood or dry or anything like that. So there's no way you can just look at it and figure it out. Or anything else. Like, you could make, 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 you could you might be able to make some sort of logical leap with a creature like a Zorn, which is an earth creature.
Right.
It's possible that it takes more damage from water-based attacks.
Correct. Maybe
Because it's earth and water.
Or Sonic, because Sonic will disrupt vibration. So yeah, or force,
something like that.
Maybe force magic. Yeah, and that would be reasonable. Right. And I do think a Zorn in 3rd edition did take extra damage from Sonic.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Right.
And he came to and it was funny too. This is one that I thought was weird. And you refresh me. I'm sure you'll tell me if I've done it. I feel like I haven't done this. Maybe I have. It says, some people claim that acting based on the knowledge of numbers and skills and probabilities is metagaming. And to me, players should act on that because that's how they know their character.
Right.
So have I actually said you wouldn't know that? I mean, you wouldn't know the probability of the chance. Why aren't you trying to climb, Joe?
No. We've talked about stuff like that outside of a game as, thought experiment or whatever. But I don't think that in game, in any of our games at Cabin Con or with all of our friends, anyone has really ever said anything like that. I've heard it before, but not from any of the games that you and I have been associated with.
Okay. No one would say, why are you thinking, like, I've heard you say, I ain't casting that spell. Why? Because I know it's immune to it.
Right.
Or I'm not casting that spell because it's the last one I have, and we're just because it's not worth it. It's too early. We're getting really close to the Dragon's Lair. I don't want to burn my lightning bolt yet.
Yeah, and there would be people saying something that's metagamey.
Yeah, and I'm saying that's smart.
Yeah,
and that's also what I mean. How else do you know your wizard? I mean, you can say, and your wizard, he might not would say that. He was like, I got to conserve my power.
Yeah, conserving your resources would be something that wizards do, especially in a Vancian system when they have limited resources.
Okay, so
and your hit points are limited.
Yeah.
So if your hit points are limited, just like everybody knows that they can only take so much punishment before they're going to fall over.
When I was playing basketball back in the day, I would play. I remember playing one day in the summer. You weren't around then, I don't think. It was we were going to have our family reunion or some big picnic that evening. Me and the cousins went down to State Park, the Valley. We played ball all day. Southern Indiana, you're talking 95 degrees. And then we went up to my aunt's in New Washington, went to play hoops. And every time I jumped to get a rebound, both my calves would cramp.
Oh boy.
Anytime I left the ground. So I'd lost so much salt and sweating that I knew. And I was like, guys, I'm done. And of course, some of the guys were ribbing me. Oh, come on, dude. I'm like, dude, I can't jump. We know that. You're a fat dude. Right? No, dude, I can't leave the ground. And so I played the rest of the game not jumping. And now, granted, when I jump, it's like 3 inches. But the point is, I just kept my feet down.
Yeah.
Because I had to.
Yeah.
And then after, I'm like, guys, I'm literally done. I can't play anymore today.
You needed to eat something.
Well, it's interesting. So we got that back to his, premise of his article. It's the GM's fault. I think the Paladin and Evil Thief is the GM. It's 80%, 70% the GM's fault. 30% the dumb player choosing to play the thief, or maybe the dumb player choosing to play the Paladin in a party of neutrals and evils.
Right.
I could also say no to the Paladin.
Right.
Like, look, they're playing mercenaries. It's not about being goody-goody. You need to find something else to play.
Yeah.
And so and the troll thing is definitely, I think, a GM's fault. I think, what about the numbers and skills? That could be, I would say that's probably going to be if the GM's the only one that's probably going to call you out on it, you think?
No, players to do that.
Oh, okay. So that's partially players. All right. Here's one I'm not sure he memorized. What about this? Memorized. Something he didn't state. What about the whole spot hidden question? Okay, Joe, your thief searching for traps. Roll. Oh, poop. I got a 2.
Right.
Okay. And everybody else chimes in. I try to do perception too.
That's a little metagaming, but it's also, I understand it because they know they probably have failed, so they want to be of help to the situation. So, I've got that skill too. I can probably get over a 2 at least. So let me roll.
Right.
But I can kind of see where people might have a problem with that. But it's not that big of a deal.
Well, and you think, I heard a good article. I don't know if it's the Crit Academy article or something else. You can make a good argument that if you're hanging out with 5 adventuring buddies and you say, hey, let's search for traps, you can say, well, we send the best guy forward, but it doesn't mean my rangers not looking around.
Right.
I'm probably not standing there with my thumb up my butt. I'm probably looking over your shoulder, not right up on you, but I'm looking around the room, making sure maybe that's a strange looking brick. Probably the fact that my cool rogue buddy's looking makes me nervous. I'm on edge.
Right.
And so I think things like group checks, some of that's in 5e. I think like I love the idea of, this is a pretty cool mechanic in 5e. Everybody rolls the check, and it doesn't have to be for spot hidden, but doing a group check, and over half the group or more has to succeed at it, or it's a fail. Like that's more for stealth. Like if the whole group stealth into a castle, that makes a lot of sense. You got a paladin and a warrior in metal armor. I don't care if you're the ninjiest ninja that's ever been a ninja. You can't overcome heavy armor and some dolt clonk clonk clonk.
Right.
You know, you'll be quiet, but it won't matter. Right. I think that's not bad. I just don't know how that would be. That's always called out as being metagame when players do that they balance in. Oh my gosh, I want to make a skill check.
Well, what about the DM knowing all the character sheets
and making the checks for them?
No. Okay, so it's a metagamey thing.
Okay,
you could say that the DM is allowed.
Right.
But none, unless you have the bad guys have spies all over the place and are always watching the players and know everything they can do. The bad guys aren't going to know anything about the PCs. They're not going to know that much. So they can make educated guesses.
Right.
And you might have the resourceful villain that does have spies, or has divination type magic or whatever, and they can spy on the PCs and figure out some of the things they can do. So you could say, and I know some people think it's a good idea for the GM
to have
copies and know what the players are capable of.
I've done that.
How else can the DM really challenge them if they don't know what they're capable of?
That's especially in a game like 3X. I mean, if I don't get to see your character sheet for a couple of levels, and you know how it can work. Level 3 and level 4 and 5, 6, 7, boom. All of a sudden the feat combo kicks in.
Right.
I haven't really seen anything before it. Now all of a sudden you're the master of all tripping. No creature can get near you without being tripped, even if they have 9 legs.
Even if you're asleep.
Even if you're asleep. You're asleep. No, then they get -4. But still, but I mean, that's, But my point is, then it'd be like, okay, but you also, the DM, I don't want to be the guy that goes, well, okay, Joe's a trip monkey, so I want to make sure nothing comes close to him so he can do it. That's stupid. Right. You should get to do that a lot. And but
at the same time, it's kind of hard when you're playing intelligent foes, because we don't, as players, actually know enough to truly intelligently play, because we aren't within the fantasy world. So we don't have all the physical cues. So a trip master isn't just walking around as a blob and you have no idea. So that trip master is likely either a chain wielder or a pole arm wielder or something like that. And they're maneuvering their weapons around a lot. So it's obvious that if you get close to them, you might fall. Unless they're doing it, unless their trip mastery is involved in their martial arts style or something like that.
Yeah, but even then, you would imagine that, like I said, even average intelligence foes. So the cool bad guy warrior goes up to your BA monk and he trips the crap out of him, and he gets up and jumps back or whatever. Maybe you kill him. Maybe he's pretty tough, but the rest of the guys are still fighting because a powerful wizard behind him says nobody's running. And they wouldn't just swarm you and let's trip the crap out of them, because they would see what happens. And it would even be like, I compare it again to basketball. We play basketball. We see some dudes about 6 foot. We're like, no big deal. And I go up to shoot a shot. He's about 1.5 feet away from me, and he leaps up and blocks my shot when it's 5 feet from my hand.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap. It don't take a lot for me to figure out I got to have some room to shoot over that guy.
Right.
Somebody's got to set a pick. I got to be far away or he's going to block my stuff.
You do a hook shot.
Yeah, so I got to do something that's
Yeah.
going to keep him from blocking me. So you can recognize that super powered move pretty quick. What about this? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. You were about to say
I
something.
was just going to say you could kneecap him.
Sweet. Now I'm pretty good at that. I can kneecap the crap out of somebody. Actually, I'm not. Never done it. But what about a dude? This is an interesting quandary. A few years ago, we were playing the Seven Spheres, and Greg D's character, what was his name? Seeker. Remember him?
Seeker, yes.
He was a ridiculous 30th level, unbelievable, huge size, but he identified as gargantuan. No joke. It was 3.x. So whenever he was doing his cool things, he was like gargantuan, even though he was only technically huge. And so,
Only.
yeah, and he killed this deposed god in one round. He did over 2,000 points of damage. And so he was just this death on a stick. And I used to, especially during his mid career, between like 9th and 15th level, because he played forever, I would throw him in spheres of force. I had a lot of wizards shut him down by put him in away from the fight. And even though I thought at times, man, that's kind of cheesy, that's exactly what you would do with something like that. Go up there and stop that guy. Are you insane? Did you see what he just did to that Baylor? He dropped it in one hit.
Yeah, he turns everything into paste. How about we put him in a sphere of force? See how he handles that.
Put him to sleep, stun him,
yeah,
blind him, do something to that crazy dude. And so you have to choose. You have to choose those things, and you could call that meta, but it's really not. It's just tactics.
Yeah,
and you would see that.
Yeah. So what? And there's so much in that he puts in that article that makes a lot of sense. That the numbers and abilities and your stats, all that stuff, your character has some self-knowledge. So they might get it wrong from time to time, but they know roughly how far they can throw a rock, how many times they can cast a spell, how deadly they are with a sword relatively, all that stuff. They have some self-knowledge.
So are we supporting metagaming?
I say as long as the folks at the table have fun
and you're playing with your friends.
Well, so much about our hobby kind of depends on, even if you're not your true friends, about you guys being friendly at the table and cooperating. Have an enjoyable time, even if it's not fun like yucks and gags, more like fun like you can have when you're playing chess and you win, or other board games. There's different kinds of fun, but as long as if you're the one person at a table of thespians and you dare to say, when do I roll my dice? And they're all like, you mentioned a game mechanic at the table during play. How darest thou? You might want to find a different group, but they might. You
and I would.
We'd
want to find. Yeah, we'd be out.
Right, but
I don't know what I was thinking.
If all of you are in rough sync, because everybody's slightly different. No one's 100% together, but as long as you all agree that we're having fun, and whatever you did, we're all having fun. Who cares?
Well, I agree, but
you're not.
But I think, hold on. So far though, here's my question. We're coming out on Angry's side as far as like metagaming is part of the deal.
Yeah.
But here's okay. I got to counter. I'm setting you up, dude.
Oh.
So, that's how it's going.
Okay.
No,
we just killed the speakers. So.
Okay. Oh, we did.
Well, when we did all our there's all kinds of feedback. Anyway.
You got scared of us?
Yeah.
Okay, so dig this. So what if I say, Joe, I'm going to run Tomb of Horrors. And Joe runs out, buys Tomb of Horrors, and reads it.
I'm a douchebag.
You are, but is that metagaming? I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's darn near cheating, right?
Yeah.
Or how about this? Okay, you start an adventure. I don't tell you how much, but then you see real quickly, Oh, look, Randy is throwing.
You recognize it.
Yeah, you recognize the mind flayer. A mind flayer's coming up. You've heard about it. And you go read the mind flayer and memorize his stats and all his unique abilities.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, now by the way, folks, Joe would never do that. Joe is the epitome of not that, because he would ruin the fun for you. But if someone else did it,
so I stopped reading the monster manuals, even though they're fun to read.
right? And the thing about the adventure may sound crazy, but I had a kid do that once when I was, I guess I don't know, starting college, or I think it was close. I was a senior. You weren't around then, so it must have been a year or two in college. And we had this friend, my cousin's mom had babysat a kid who was about 13, 14. He was a good kid, but he was kind of in dumb trouble, doing stupid stuff, nothing like illegal. But anyway, he wanted to play with us, so we were like, yeah, being the nerds that we are, we're pretty accepting, even big age gaps. And we let him play, and he loved it. He was into it. He invited us to his house. Turns out he's super wealthy. His mom was super cool, and I was like, are you okay? I mean, I'm like 21 or 20 or something. She was like, no, I know all about you, and I know your cousin and stuff. So it's okay. So good. I'm just playing D&Ds. That's cool. My son loves it. And he takes me, he goes, dude, I want you to run us through this adventure. I bought this for you. And I was like, wow, he bought me a whole module. I was like, that's really cool. He goes, yeah, man, I can't wait till we get this sword. And I'm like, what? He goes, I read it last night. It's really good. It's going to be fun. And honestly, when I told him, I said, dude, I can't run this now. And he's like, I said, because you know it, which is not true. If I was a more experienced DM, I'd have been like,
right.
Oh yeah, we'll run it. You're never going to see that sword. But he was like, he was really a dear. He was like, why? He literally didn't understand what the problem was, but he was a very new player, because he was like, I like this sword. I want to get it. Kind of like in a video game. I want to get in this room because there's a legendary sword of coolness. But that kind of metagaming, if that's metagaming, I would say it is a bad type of metagaming that the DM is not at fault for. Or is it just cheating?
Well,
is that type of metagaming cheating?
So here's another way of doing that without doing that is, I can't remember how many times you ran us through the Lost Caverns of Sojanth.
Yep.
It's been a long time.
Oh yeah.
But if let's say it hadn't been as long, let's say I've had 5 or 6 GMs all like that particular module, and then you say, hey, I'm going to run this module, or you start running the game, and then I recognize elements of it that it is that. And then what I would do is say, hey, dude, this is a particular module. I've been through it so many times. It's like when I have a character with a new ability, I say, hey, dude, this might cause some issues. This is what's up. So I will say, I've ran through this module a lot, but not everybody will do that. They'll just say, ooh, I can't wait. This is a different character. This character has never been through this module, but as a player, I've been in several games within this, when this module has been run.
Right.
But I don't say anything, and I just take advantage of my superior intellect.
I would say,
or whatever.
I don't think you can fault the player if, here's what I would say. It's the difference between, so is that cheating? Not really. But I would say that if you told me, I would say I would do one of two things. No, if Joe told me, hey, Randy, I know this. So I want to keep running it, and I'll see what I can do tonight, but you do whatever you want. In fact, why don't we do this? Why don't we say this? Your character has studied the caverns of Sojanth his whole life. He couldn't wait to get here. And so as soon as you start like, dudes, I've heard of this. There's an artifact in here called the Wondrous Lanthorn of Daod. Okay. And we got to get it. And there's supposed to be a sleeping princess there. And you as Joe can decide whether you want to, and I wouldn't care what you said. You could say it's supposed to be a vampire princess and we need to get in there and get this. And what I would do is I would let you lead that, and I would let you be right on several things, but I would throw several big curves to surprise you, not to screw you, but to surprise you.
Yeah,
and
because
so your character would be like, oh, that's not what I had heard. Oh, it's totally not true. Yeah.
Right. I know that there are folks that like to play through modules.
Yeah, they're fun.
And let's play through modules. And you've been through this one? Yeah, but I like that module. Let's do it. They don't care if you change it or not. Surprise isn't, they don't care. They
No.
just want to get in there and do the thing.
Right.
But I knowing the adventure before the adventure is kind of like reading a novel and having read like the Cliff Notes or something like that. Sometimes you can read a book more than once and you can get something out of it, but that first time you read through it is so different than the other times.
I think the other side of the coin, the guy that doesn't tell me and decides I'm going to take advantage of this, if he can do it without me or any other player noticing his abnormally perceptive skill in every single encounter, what can I do? He never says anything. But I think he's going to give himself away. And if I don't say it, somebody will be like, dude, you have completely guessed the last 3 puzzle rooms. What is up? That's not really a thing. And how did you know to just randomly pick that sequence of numbers? There was no real clue there. You know, Gygax dungeons were bad for that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah. Not as much as I love the old feller.
Especially Lost Caverns. There was some really weirdly placed treasure in there.
Yeah. Well, then there's that one where you like run it. It's like an alcove and there's a crazy clay golem in there. And I mean, he's just like, and back in that day, that's when he hit you. You need a 17th level cleric to get your hit points back.
Right.
Dude, there was no group of characters that ever defeated him. Of course, you're supposed to be you're 7th to 9th level. He's pretty tough to handle at that level, especially when you're not expecting him and you need +3 blunt weapons to hurt him.
Right.
That's at pretty all. Tough. Yeah.
Not DR like it does less damage. It doesn't hurt him at all.
I got a +2 sharpness sword. Sorry about your luck.
Yeah. Hey, you just got hit for 10 points of damage, and guess what? You're never getting them back.
Can't heal them. That's all I had to say. That can't be healed. And I'd be like, what? And it was funny because I would cackle, which if I really wanted to be evil, I wouldn't tell you until you were beat way down. I got 2 hit points. Yeah, that's where you're going to stay. What? That would be brutal.
And then you have to have another adventure just to go back on this adventure.
Yeah.
To go find a 17th level cleric, because good luck with that.
So the question I guess I have, are those examples of, memorizing adventures, monster stat blocks, buying the adventure, cheating that way? That's meta too, though, right?
It is a little meta, and you can still blame the DM, because you can always blame the DM.
Good
Maybe
point.
the DM shouldn't run canned adventures.
That's right, because he's weak if he does.
Yeah.
Crap, that's me. Oh, poop. But anyway, I don't usually run completely canned. I usually buy them for inspiration. But
it's different play styles. So if you don't get any extra enjoyment out of being surprised somehow by not knowing what's around the next corner, if that's no big deal for you, then running through modules that you've played before isn't a big deal either. So knowing the module, reading it isn't a big deal either for you. And if you're in a group of people where they're kind of like the mercenary types, that you go in and you have your SOP for each room, you run in there.
Yeah. Standard operating procedure. Yeah.
Yeah. You have your SOP for room clearing, and you clear every room, you turn over every rock, and all that stuff. And
attack pattern delta.
Right. And your point is maximum exposure to your maximum module playthrough in your session. Then whatever, play how you like to play.
Dude, and I have a truckload of modules just looking around my room here. I got something. I'm a fan of Dungeon Magazine. I loved all that stuff.
You always tweak the modules, though.
Always. It's never. You know what though? We talk a lot about old school, bro. I bet money I could run Lost Caverns of Sojanth, Tomb of Horrors, Village of Hamlet, Temple of Elemental. I bet I could run Caves of Chaos, and you wouldn't remember much of any of it.
Right.
Because I don't.
Not right now.
And we could run it old school D&D, or even with 3rd edition, 5th edition, because I have the versions of those. And I bet it would be some surprises. You'd be like, oh, I forgot about that. Now there'd be other things you'd be like, I think that dude's evil, because there'd be parts where you go, oh yeah.
Or you just run into there happens to be a maiden here in the middle of a dungeon in stasis. Why don't you rescue this maiden?
Nothing's around.
What could
Look,
go
there's
wrong?
a little red knob on the wall. Just turn it and she's free.
No one has told you to go find their princess. You know, so what could go wrong? Just free
Some
the
of the,
princess.
there's some of the dumbest things back in the day. You'd come into a room, you'd be in a dungeon, a dark, dank, cavernous dungeon, and you come into a room and there'd be these massive pillows, beautiful women dressed in these like silky pantaloons, kind of lacy, look kind of like what you call them, classic Arabian Night sort of thing. And there's a guy who's like, "Welcome to my pleasure palace." You're like, "Yeah, whatever, Rakshasa."
Yeah.
I mean, what are you trying to pull, dude?
And
This ain't the first dungeon I've been through.
it's a trap.
It's a trap. And some in our old party be like, I shoot him. He's not done talking. I attack him. Yeah, you shouldn't be here. Which is right. I remember even back in the day, I think it was JD is like, we have to attack him. What is he doing here? That makes no sense.
So I was listening to, speaking of just shoot him, I was
Yeah.
listening to on LibriVox. I was listening to, so the Three Musketeers has 4 different stories to it. You have the Three Musketeers, 20 years after, 10 years later, and then part of 10 years later is the Iron Man and the Iron Mask. So maybe just three volumes.
Okay. Yeah.
And in the second one, there's a bad guy, of course, and he's on a rock while they're on a rowboat. The good guys are on a rowboat, and the bad guy is on there telling them, "I'm the bad guy. I'm going to kill you next time I see you. I know where you live, and I'm going to come get you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they just need to shoot him because it's the Musketeers. They have guns.
Yeah.
And dude gets up with a musket and points it right at him.
Did he shoot him?
No, because another guy in the boat, interrupted.
Yeah.
So
I'd be like, shake the boat. No. Is there like a rowboat? Could you like?
It's a rowboat.
Dude, I'd have been just shook it and knocked him over in the deep ocean.
No, that wasn't going to happen.
Dude, that's funny.
It's a swashbuckling tale of
Sure
weird kind of honor that is absolutely nothing at all like the movies. I mean, there's some familiar elements, especially the Man in the Iron Mask is nothing like the story.
Really?
Oh, sure. In the Man in the Iron Mask movie, you have the 4 musketeers, right? With D'Artagnan.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they all, at the end of the movie, unite together to bring the so the story of the Man in the Iron Mask is there is a twin of the king who's locked away somewhere. And in the movie, the real Louis, or the Louis that's on the throne, is bad and causing lots of bad things to happen, overtaxing, and the French people are tired of it and all this stuff. And so they find Philippe, who is his brother, twin brother, and the plan is to replace Louis with Philippe, because Philippe's a good guy and Louis is a bad guy.
Okay.
So and then everything works out in the end, and Philippe is now Louis, and Louis is a good king that reigns in good stead for a long time because of the Musketeers put him in place. Yeah, that's absolutely not the Man in the Iron Mask story.
Well, I kind of got one more example I want to hit because I just come to mind. What about this? And then I think we're going to, got a couple other questions. We're going to kind of leave this topic of metagaming. Do you think when players say, so they use real world physics to make some sort of deduction about the environment? Oh, the friction there would never allow that thing to do this, so we can easily do that thing. Or they'll say, the speed of this would never be able to reach that particular capacity, so we'll be safe. Or the balance is such that we're going to build a bridge because all you got to do is put together these different frames. Like, you're telling me your tavern keeper dwarf who just became a adventurer, or your bumbling court fool who just became a rogue knows all this cool stuff about physics. And I'm of two minds about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I care sometimes, but sometimes it just sounds silly.
Right. Here's the other thing. So,
but I mean, it's still a real world.
Sure, it's still a real world, and you might
imaginable.
Understand certain things conceptually.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're a tavern keeper, and you had this regular bridge builder.
Yeah.
And he talked about bridges. So you may understand it conceptually, but when you go to build the bridge,
you better have some skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Or your chances of building that bridge are going to be small. You might still be able to pull it off, but you might not.
And honestly, just because, I mean, you can even, if we have an engineer in the group, or we have a guy who's a scientist in our group, good old Dave, right? He tells me some scientific chemistry theory thing or fact. I'm going to believe him, but that doesn't mean his half-elf barbarian has any clue about chemistry.
Right. And I don't think he ever plays it like that.
No, Dave doesn't do that. I'm just saying that's kind of a cheese ball way, but it could be that if the DM's requiring that to be the solution, then you are causing your own problem.
Right.
As long as I'm not setting my adventure to be, well, if they don't figure out the chemical compound of this element, they're in trouble. And nobody, I mean, that'd be weird. Can you play an RPG without metagaming? I mean, we have the metagame of, okay, we all agreed we're going to be dragon hunters. So don't roll in here with a guy who loves dragons or a guy who does not want to hunt dragons at all.
Right.
So besides that metagame, can you play a game like that that's satisfying, you think, without metagaming at all?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think that metagaming, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
That when you sit down, and also depends on what you mean by metagaming.
Sure.
If you're including discussing, because some people will say this, they will say discussing rules elements in character at the table means you're metagaming. We don't do that. So if once the game has started, you have to speak in character and not mention any game elements at all. No, there's no way to really do that because we're
playing a game.
You have to know when to roll.
Yep.
And you have to be able to communicate what you have rolled, and success and failure has to be communicated. So
absolutely.
If you do it through sign language or you roll out in the open and everybody looks and then nobody says anything, but apart from something like that, I would say no. You're going to metagame a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think did we talk about the hit point thing? I'm thinking of another idea. Did we ever say when someone's like, you're fighting and someone, hey, Joe, I'm playing the cleric and Joe's playing the fighter and he's gotten whacked a couple of times. Hey, dude, do you need me to cast healing word on you?
Right. So, yeah. So that happens a lot.
I think it's fine.
That's fine. Who cares?
Because, it's not just who cares. I can tell, dude, Butch has just got the crap. He is bleeding from his shoulder and his head. He needs some healing, And
in the same vein, if Butch notices that the wizard is being put upon by foes and needs some additional help, most likely Butch won't even ask, but he could say, hey, you want me to whack on one of those fellows for you?
Yeah, he might have he goes, no, don't worry. I got something up my sleeve for these orcs.
Right.
I wanted them to get around me because I'm about to do a fire burst and drop them all to nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And you talk at the table, but what I often do in my head is I imagine that it goes differently within the world of the game. They might have looks or hand signs or something like that where they can know, or he'll look over there and say, oh yeah, he's getting ready to cast a spell. I can see him taking out the components or whatever. And you can imagine that in your head. But when you're playing, you're not doing that. You're talking.
Oh, here's another one. You go to town. I'm going to the apothecary. I'm going to the church. I'm going to the tavern, right? And something exciting happens at the apothecary. But Joe at the tavern wants to he goes, oh, that sounds really cool. Because something cool's happening. I'm heading over to the apothecary now. Even though your character was going to the tavern.
And I know in the early days we used to do stuff like that, and people will talk when you have to sometimes remind people your character's not here, but at the same time, I think this was in an article or something that I read, or we've talked about it. Can't remember which. So I often play wizards, and wizard in the game, of course, high intelligence, and often, especially in Pathfinder, you'd have a really high intelligence score. Yeah. And so that's not me in real life,
Right.
Maybe
you're
maybe a
pretty
little
smart.
above average. So,
You're a smart cookie.
so
But I don't think either one of us are 20 intelligence.
right. So when you or me as a player can't think of something and somebody else can,
Yep.
sometimes we can play as a group effort in some respects.
And that can mimic that wizard's great intelligence.
Yeah, then I'm fine with thinking of it in that way too, as long as the other players are okay with. I mean, I can think of it that way if I want.
Yeah.
No one's going to stop me or whatever.
Thinking, Joe.
Right.
I know what you're thinking. Quit it.
Right. You're thinking that you thought that, but actually, my character thought that, and that's how it went.
And the same, and the same goes for. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Or any type of ideas or discovery or things that require thought. You can play the group can play that out, and you can think of it happening in a particular way you want. I don't think it's a big deal, because you do really lack the things that the characters within the fictional world have, which is being in the situation. You're outside of it in a very two-dimensional, abstracted way. So if you were in it, it would be more beneficial in a lot of ways. Maybe not in others. There's distractions, the physical environment, in fantasy, medieval world, you're likely starving or have herpes or something like that, because I mean, there's no medicine, but you're going to be there, so you're going to have an advantage. So as a player of that character, you don't have any of that. So I don't see a big deal with the group being able to have group think in that kind of a meta way.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it, a group thinking. Or like if someone's playing the bard and wants to negotiate with the king, and I'm playing the bard and I'm fumbling through my words, and you might say, "Hey, Randy, just say this." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool," but my bard's got a 22 charisma, so I'm a parent. I should be smooth, and at least make a check or something. I think that's cool. Or this is interesting too. What if and I've had this happen. Now, Joe's been my friend for 40 years, and my wife's been married to me for, over 20. So when we play, those two in particular catch any kind of facial expression I make, any kind of, when I'm trying to portray a character and I want to get across, look, this dude really doesn't like you guys, but he's trying to make the deal anyway, right? Because he needs your help. I can role play that, and you'll catch it, and Deb will catch it without me literally saying it. But I'll see other people that look a little lost, especially newer people, and that's when I'll come out and say, "Look, this is what he's trying to. This is the vibe you're picking off of him."
Right.
Ideally, I wish I could just role play it and be like, "Yeah, okay, everybody, I get it. He don't really like us, but he's still gonna, pay us to do this."
Right.
And so, but people that know you well can pick up on those things, which you can't do if you don't know somebody really well. Right. So, or maybe not. Maybe you're really good at intuiting that. I don't know. Maybe people are.
Right. You never know. I mean, someone who's very astute socially, someone with a high charisma or a lot of experience in that vein can pick up on cues. Like I've been saying, I've been reading this new, actually, Three Musketeers and the Second Story, and I don't know if this was an old world fable type of way of looking at the world, but they called these people physiognomists, in which they can read body language and voice tones and stuff like that, and be able to read someone really easy. And I don't know if that's a real thing.
Not a clue.
But it's something that they talk about a lot. This fellow talks about in his book a lot. So
yeah, maybe it is.
I don't know if that was a trendy thing, like lumps in your head and what do they used to put on you to suck the blood out? What are those little
leeches?
Yep. Yeah, that used to be a thing too, but didn't.
What was that? They called the four, not femurs.
The four humors.
Femurs. The four femurs. Yeah, I hate those things. The four
Dr.
femurs.
Randy.
I only got two. I don't have 4. Yeah. So, hey, so when we think about kind of wrap this, put a bow on it, it's a DM's fault. I don't think it's always a DM's fault. I do think it probably is more than not. Like if I'm expecting everybody to catch up on my body language and my cool, subtle role playing cues, and no one in the party is you or my wife, or it's people that are really close to me, that's probably ridiculous. It is my fault for them to expect that. And I should meta the explanation after the discussion has been done, right? The little role play scene. But I'm not so sure you can blame the GM for people reading adventures and memorizing monster stats. But you could, well, maybe if the DM's like super hard and he kills a lot of characters and somebody's like, dude, I'm going to make sure I know everything I can because this DM is ridiculously hard. So I guess that's possible.
I'm going to know all the modules.
Yeah, I think metagaming does get a bad rap. I think there's times you should and you shouldn't do it, but I think for the most part, it's probably okay.
I think blaming everything on the DM.
Oh, it sounds good.
Well, it sounds good. Well, it does sound good because
it does.
We're talking about you, especially when blaming you for everything.
I think we can blame it on me.
Yes.
I'm talking about the more innocent dungeon masters out there.
There's no such thing.
Oh.
No, I think from the point of view that the old school point of view, that when you're sitting down to a table of D&D, the DM, it's their game that you're playing in.
Right.
From that point of view, if there's metagaming going on and you're going to lay blame on somebody, then it's the DM because it's their game. So they should be able to know about the whole characters that are not that don't go well to get compatible, incompatible character situation, secret situation, appropriate or appropriate challenge. We're not talking about appropriate challenge to level, that it's an actual challenge and not a kind of weird, you roll a die and it's no longer a challenge, kind of non-challenge.
Right.
But from that point of view, I can see what he's talking about. The DM should be able to mitigate all of those things. They know the DM should be able to convey the lore of their world if they have a coherent world. If it's just you're running modules, then that's not a really big consideration, I think. But I think I think you can lay a lot of cards at the GM's table, but there's some blame to be had for players who are kind of playing in bad faith.
Yeah, I think that's about the worst you can do. So probably 95% DM, 5% players, the really troublesome players. But we could talk. That might be a podcast too. Troublesome players. But I think, is there anything else you want to say about metagaming? I feel like
I'll just say that I'm pretty much in agreement with Angry GM, and I was in agreement with him before I read his article.
Right.
So I was already thinking that people complaining about metagaming, I always got a little bit of it, but if you harangued too much, I was like, that's just that's
and
that's their
I have to admit, and this is kind of the old Randy. When he mentioned that troll example, I kind of bristled a little. They're right. They should role play like if you're first level character, you don't know crap about a troll. But then again, a lot of the troll history, and a troll came from legend, from myth that we would know about. So I'm sure someone that lived in a world where trolls exist would have heard of them. And on top of that, I like the idea when he said, the DM needs to push himself. So if I were to run an adventure and you're going to fight trolls, I'm going to do my best to surprise you, not do something dumb like, oh, you have to hit them with water. Probably not that dumb. Or I might have, like he mentioned, have a troll shaman that casts protection from fire on his trolls.
Or you be real cheater DM and just wait until the fire has run out and then spin the trolls.
Then the trolls, yeah. That'd be fun. Let me write that down. That's a good idea. All right, little cabin con moment. This might be a short segment today, but have we ever bandied bound this? I don't think this has been discussed.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think we're all so darn good at playing games that we never make these mistakes.
Well, we're just all of the same cloth, I would say. Very, very similarly cut cloth.
Yeah, yeah. And we all pretty much, and we're forgiving of each other if it does happen. And it's never, I don't think it's really ever done in what I would call a real um, mean spirited way or trying to get something over on somebody. Or
Right.
if somebody does it, they're really good at it. So I've never noticed.
I think, no, then this isn't metagaming. So, well, would, in a old D&D or more of a old school vein, creative interpretation of spell description to have an effect for a spell that really doesn't isn't appropriate, would that be metagaming or would that be a different thing?
I think, I don't know if that's meta. That's almost like maybe. I mean, meta doesn't sound right for that. That sounds more like someone trying to interpret the game world differently, which in some games that may be encouraged. Games where you create your own spells, where they don't give you the actual spell list, you create them. Like I think Ars Magica has a lot of that stuff in it. Mage the Ascension. I'm just going by what I heard you talk about and Patrick and Jeff talk about. I think you get to create your own spells there. I think the
within
idea
parameters,
within parameters, and I think and I know our buddy Philip, when I first met him, I was really, at first I was put off by it because he like described his magic missiles as being these screaming skulls. I'm like, what are you casting? He goes, 4 screaming skulls fleeing from my hand, leaving a trail of fire, and I hit for 7 points of damage or 8 points of damage. And I'm kind of like, what did you just cast? He goes, magic missile.
right.
And I was like, that's not, wait a minute, who cares? That's kind of cool. That gives his character flavor.
Right.
And he would try to, like, and this is back in the early days. So I bristle with this too. He'd go into town. He goes, I want to use kind of like just a little magic to kind of entertain the kids. And I'm like, do you have an illusion spell? Do you have this spell? I was kind of being, because I was just used to it, but he was just wanting to get into the story. But Philip's pretty good about trying to do that. Usually not for some advantage, just to look cool.
Right.
This is how my magic missile is. This is what my fireball looks like.
And that's fine.
But to do it to try to gain an advantage,
right?
That
to be a little nitpicky, though, I thought about that with Magic Missile too, but and to be nitpicky, Magic Missile, like a lot of damage spells, it's like shooting a bullet. It's instantaneous.
Yep. Yes.
There's no real time that it takes to get from your hand to whoever it hits.
Could you even see it?
Could you even see it? So what's the except for maybe
point.
A color or
black,
like
blue,
that, or maybe
it looked like
be a sound effect or a color.
Yeah.
But getting more descriptive than that seems to me to be a little. I don't want to spend my time.
Yeah, it looked like foot long colors of arrow type things come flying out real fast. That's probably they'd be like blurry missiles type things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be, but I mean, if the player enjoys that, it's not hurting.
Sure, no, it's no big deal. It's just
you're talking about you're talking about someone saying, okay, so I describe my magic missiles as flaming skulls. That creature has extra damage from fire. So should my magic missiles do more damage?
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
No, that'd be cheese ball.
Yeah.
Well, unless you did, unless as a DM you really wanted to encourage that kind of cheese ball thinking, and maybe it's not cheese ball in your world. Who knows? I don't know. So we're going to add a new segment now. Our segment 4 is changing. We're going to put a pause on the world building until we actually maybe have some. I don't know. We'll talk about it. And we want to introduce a new segment called Beat This Game. And really the idea is we're just going to talk about games that we've played, probably start off with ones we played a lot. And we're going to talk about pros and cons, best and worst mechanics, favorite sessions, campaigns, or settings. And then we're going to give it a rating. What'd you think of my rating system there, dude?
Well,
I don't like it. I like it.
Well, it's like most rating system. It's a little vague, but
well, here's the idea. So what I did to fit the theme of Biggest Geekus,
right? Sizes.
We're gonna have a sizes extra small, which means we pretty much hate it, would never play it. Small, dislike it, not much going for it. Medium, okay, would play it for a while. Large, we like it. Happy to play a full-blown campaign, but not the best. Extra large, love it. One of my favorites, would play anytime. And a 2X, the best game I've ever played. My absolute favorite RPG of all time.
So there's nothing above 2X?
What would you call? I thought that would be the top. What would be a 3X?
Well, you could have a finer grain and go all the way up to 5, like,
Shirts and stuff.
uh,
Shirts do bigger, don't they? I don't know.
biggest I've heard of is 5, but you never know.
I don't know. Yeah.
But this is cool. This is fine.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so the game I picked is the one we're playing right now, just because I figured it'd be familiar. Talk a little bit about Savage Worlds. So, do you have a list in your mind, or can you give me a few things you would call pros? And they could be related to mechanics or not. I don't care if they are.
Well, look, I think the biggest, some of the big pros is it's Savage Worlds, the base game, has a really low barrier to entry.
Yep.
A lot of games these days have an almost invisible barrier or intangible barrier, because you can get basic rules online for free for a lot of them. But
Right.
with Savage Worlds, is the base game still only $10?
No, I
Or
don't
is it
think
15?
so. If you bought the brand new one, I don't know if they do. I don't think they have a digest version of Savage Worlds Adventure Edition yet.
Oh, okay.
So you're looking at about $40. But when Joe and I first entered the Savage World sphere,
It
we
was
bought the
$10.
Explorers Edition for $10 and a full-on, well thought out, good RPG for $10.
And it's a small rule set.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's quite rules light, but it's pretty close, I think.
Yeah, we would probably say rules medium to light.
Probably.
Yep.
It has really fast character generation. You can have no character and nothing to play. From that to having a game going is 10-15 minutes probably.
Absolutely.
Not including getting another DM getting their game together. But
yeah, the DM's like, I got a fantasy adventure, make me some characters.
10 minutes,
And
15 minutes.
You, Patrick, Jeff, and Josh, you'd be done in 15 minutes. Let's go throw some dice.
And it's really, really fast to get into. So lots of good stuff there. You utilize just about all the typical dice that you think of, except for the D20. I think they went opposite on D20.
Well, you only use that when you do as far as I know, I've only ever seen it used on the incapacitation table.
Right.
When you're getting ready to die, roll to see how bad you're going to die.
Right.
If it's going to be permanent death or just sort of dead or
mostly dead. Yeah.
I thought
those are good stuff. As far as cons, it's hard to put my finger on it, but for me, Savage Worlds is more of a I like the game, I'll play it, but there's something kind of, it hits the highlights of an RPG, but it doesn't fill in all the gaps. It's hard to put my finger on it and put it into words, but it's kind of missing a little bit.
I feel you, because I think what it usually needs is a settings books helps to fill in the gaps.
Correct.
And it's kind of like GURPS. It's a universal role-playing system. For pros, for me, I liked its basic system is this. So if your player characters are wild cards, and let's say you're a good fighter dude and you get you get a die type, say a D8, but you also get the wild die. The simplicity, so you roll those 2 die. To be successful, one of those has to come up, usually with a 4. And getting a raise is something super cool, which is 4 higher, so maybe an 8. So if you roll a D8 and a D6, one of those 2 have to be a 4. If neither one of them are a 4, you don't succeed. If one of them is a 4, it is a success. I like that basic mechanic because the DM, it's very easy to wing bad guys.
Yeah.
I can just say D6 is his skill. He's not a wild card, roll it. I like the idea of extras and wild cards. So wild cards get that extra wild die, the D6, where extras don't. And they go out with 1 hit, while wild cards take a little more punch. The initiative is fun.
Yeah.
I love the card initiative. It's just fun. I don't think it's the fastest initiative I've ever played, but I do think it lends itself to It's just fun, especially in a Deadlands game.
Yeah, there's a uniqueness to the game.
I think you implied this. The core book's easy to read, quick read. The bennies are fun. You get to use these poker chips to get some form of player agency in the game, or re-rolls or bonuses. I do think PCs are solid out the gate, and one thing I do like is slow leveling. and what I mean is the leveling is linear, not exponential. So slow may not be the right word. Whereas D&D, every level you get, you go start exponentially shooting up in power, especially in Pathfinder. But in Savage Worlds, it tends to be, it's not linear, it's more logarithmic because it flattens out.
Yeah.
So I said the wrong word. It's logarithmic, not exponential. Or even, maybe that's a better word. Logarithmic is what I would call Savage Worlds. Sorry, I'm getting kind of mathy here.
Yeah.
And linear.
Nobody's going to know what you mean by logarithmic.
So straight line means you just get better, higher, higher. So put your arm at a 45-degree angle. That's how characters get better in most D&D games. In Savage Worlds, take your arm and bend your hand and almost make it flat. So you got a little hill for your forearm as you creep up, and then it gets flatter and flatter.
So you plateau.
You do, almost. And you kind of reach. You almost plateau. You technically do increase, but very slowly. And I think that gives you now, and it leads to a con. Characters, combat-wise, can become a little samey unless you have a player who really focuses on non-combat skills. If you're going to be a combatant, eventually, I feel like fighters are going to be fighters. They're all going to have frenzy. They're going to have a variety. But I think they're a little better than they used to be. They got enough options to be fun, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine enjoying the options of Savage Worlds for as many quote-unquote sessions as you would a D&D options that you get to keep exploring and say. And when I say D&D, I keep 3.x Pathfinder. 5e's a little less, maybe a lot less. I do think the game is swingy, which is a con. Sometimes you can have a really great character and a little turd goblin can take you out with one swing.
Oh, yeah.
I think gauging challenges for parties, for me, though I got some advice recently, and last week we talked with Glenn about challenge ratings. Not that I care that much about challenge ratings, but I kind of want to know what to put against. I think in our game, Joe, I don't feel like I've challenged you guys yet. Maybe the white. The white was a little scary.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But
the other fights.
Not really.
No.
But the white, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, he had potential for real bad news.
Right. Well, the other thing is we had a lot of good hits on him, a lot of good wounds, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone because of how good they are at all that.
Yeah. I think magic seems a little uber in the game, but it could just be because I've got 3 casters in my current fantasy game, and they just seem like they're blowing crap up every time I turn around. I know this weekend I got plans for that. I'm going to make some plans for that crap. I want to fix their little magical red wagons. But I think the game is. I think the bennies are fun. You give them out for good role playing your hindrances, and thinking of cool ideas. The players get to spend them to well live and to do cool stuff. Yeah, if you don't have any bennies when you take wounds, you're in deep poop.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got any favorite? Settings that come to mind from Savage Worlds? Because Savage Worlds is generic, and then Deadlands,
Savage Worlds is a generic system that you can, according to what they say, use for any kind of setting, and it's so far. This is our first foray into full-blown fantasy.
Yeah, with Savage Worlds.
But we've done supers, we've done sci-fi. Wasn't it Savage Worlds that we did the
that was an adventure we did at Cabin Con last year. Yeah, we talked about it. It was good.
And then Deadlands, which is the Western magic Cthulhu-y type thing. And it's fun. It's good.
I think for me, I like a lot of their settings. Deadlands, they have Rippers.
Rippers too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Rippers is kind of like the Van Helsing movie. you play the heroes that fight the creatures. Had something like you fight creatures that go bump in the night and you bump back or something. I'm not sure if that's from the movie or from the Ripper's book, and it's set in a Victorian era Europe. So
Victorian era monster hunters, essentially.
yeah, it's pretty fun. I got a couple others I haven't played much with. Was Rifts. Evernight is pretty cool. That's a fantasy setting that gets invaded by aliens, space aliens. And then there's a Cursed. That's kind of like Rippers, but you actually play the monsters, which I think has some cool things to it. And one that I really want to play, even though it's futuristic sci-fi, is Necropolis 2350. That's a real like almost like Dark Heresy or Warhammer 40K. It's kind of like that universe.
Oh,
Yeah, it looks kind
would
of
it
fun.
be? But is it sci-fi?
Yeah, it's sci-fi, but you have like instead of magic, you have psionic people. You know, psychers,
Okay.
kind of like there are psychers in Warhammer 40K. These are psychics, and you have the church. The church is really powerful, and then you have these undead creatures from this one planet that are causing all kinds of crap in the galaxy.
But there's space travel and stuff like that.
There's space travel, yeah, faster than light travel.
I wonder if it's has any basis in you've got the Riddick movies.
Yeah, it could.
So the one where they have the I don't know, what did they call them, the
necromongers,
something like that.
Yeah, they were kind
those
of,
guys.
yeah.
They were kind of a church in a way.
There's the church, and then there's the necro dudes who are like these undead things you fight. So it's got a mixture of undead fantasy and then space. It's a dark sort of future space. I don't know if I call it an opera, but it's not really hard science fiction because you got a lot of high powered weapons and kind of psychic magic and stuff. I think it'd be fun. It'd be it'd be a dark campaign. It's
Dark.
pretty dark.
Dark and gritty.
Those are my favorite settings. We had really great campaigns, as Joe mentioned. My favorite campaign ever was the Rippers game we played.
Yeah, that was fun.
A few months. That was a nice beginning and end. And then Necessary Evil, our second try in that, was pretty sweet, where we played superheroes. That was cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked all those. Yeah, I like Savage Worlds as a system.
Yeah, me too.
It's but I don't know if I'd want it to be my main one all the time one. Yeah. It's a great one to have. I primarily like fantasy RPGs.
Yeah.
Then I like to do little forays into other things, and Savage Worlds is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do.
So I just
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I just like how they have. I mean, if you go to Pinnacle website, Pinnacle's Entertainment's the one that makes the game, and they just have so many cool systems, so many cool settings that it just draws me in. And I bought a buttload of them. Whether I'll play them or not, maybe not. I hope to run them one day at CabinCon for sure, because I think they lend themselves to short campaigns, you know. And so, yeah, I like to dabble in Savage Worlds. It wouldn't be my absolute favorite, but I do really enjoy it. So how would you rank this bad boy? Can you rank him on our scale? Where would you put it?
At least in large, maybe extra large, somewhere in that vicinity. One of my favorites would play anytime. Yeah, I could put it in XL.
Yeah, I put it on XL because I think I would play it. I feel like if we finish a campaign of D&D, I'd love to cleanse the palate with something like Deadlands or Rippers or Rifts or something. That feels like a great palate cleanser when you bring Savage Worlds in. I would highly recommend it to anybody that likes a little bit of a game that's got. They claim it's pulpy, and I guess I'm not sure what that word means exactly, but I think it, because they do have Flash Gordon. I know that's kind of pulp, but I would.
Well, you can play pulpy games with it, but I don't know if the system itself, it may lend itself well to pulpy because it's not necessarily high powered like some other systems are, but it's also deadly.
Yeah.
So
now there are, when you say Magic is pretty boss, if you got to be careful, they use magic points and power points, and I think Magic can be pretty boss in that game. There tend to be some pretty, there's a spell I always talk about, Puppet. That's a pretty brutal spell, dude. You literally become someone's puppet. I mean, it's like charm person domination on steroids. So
right.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. All right, man. Well, I think we're ready to wrap this up, don't you think?
Yes.
All right. So if you'd like to support our show, please check out our website, www.biggestgeekispodcast.com/support. We appreciate any contribution you can do. Nothing else, tell your friends. That's even better. I don't know if there's even not too many apps probably that we don't aren't supported on the podcasting apps.
I don't think so. There's no, no, that's not a.
There's
there
probably a bunch
are
of them.
hundreds of them,
Okay, so
and we're on the major ones,
right.
and a couple of the
Spotify,
minor
iTunes,
ones.
Breaker. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
All the ones that matter have Biggest Geekus. Come on, dude.
of course.
Yeah. Our email is questions@biggestgeekispodcast.com. If you got anything you want to say about metagaming, we would love for you to call in or send us an email. If you got a way to contact us on Anchor, I would leave us messages and stuff like that. We love talking about that. I think we got a couple messages from before we probably got to talk about, Joe.
We do. Or they're going to start thinking we don't love them anymore.
That's right. And we do love John Allen and his wife Hannah at Red Dice Diaries, Glenn at Radio Grognard, Tale of the Manicore, which is a dramatized quasi-actual play, Tavern Chat with Eric Tinkar, and Nerds RPG Variety Cast with Jason. I think his last name is Connolly. I thought I heard that
Yeah, something like
slipped in
that.
there somewhere. So you'll have to let us know if that's the truth. So anyway, this is Randy.
And this is Joe.
Remember, can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.